experts, the Honourable Dame Karen Bradley, Member of Parliament, Chair of the Home Affairs Committee in the United Kingdom.
Hello, and thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this. I have been a long-standing supporter of your work, Congressman, and attended a number of these events, and it's wonderful to be here today in Madrid, and I want to thank the Senate of Madrid for your hospitality in hosting us. It's an odd title, I guess, an odd subject, the role of human trafficking and its intersection with terrorism. And I was sort of starting off thinking, did we want to talk about state-sponsored trafficking that is terrorist? So when we had the example of the migrants who were taken to the border of Poland in Belarus by the Russians to intimidate the European Union, that was human trafficking, state-sponsored. It was creating terror. Or we could think about the girls that were kidnapped by Boko Haram, the terrorist organisation that took the girls, trafficked them, and who knows what horrors that they faced. Or we could think about those 20,000 nearly Ukrainian children kidnapped by Russia. And in Russia today, those children have been taken as an act of terror, I would suggest, by the Russian state. But I think actually we should think about this more widely, because I think human trafficking is a crime that can pay for terrorism, not just state-sponsored, but beyond, because it is a financial crime. It is the making money, one human being exploiting another human being to make money. It is that simple. It's not a migration crime, it's not a crime of emotion, it is a crime of money. It is simply a criminal wants to make money and they use one human being to make it. And that could be through sex exploitation, they could be pimping women and girls as prostitutes, making money from them. It could be labour exploitation. It could be making them pick their crops without really paying them, or make their product, make their solar panels perhaps in China, maybe their cotton. Maybe it's all sorts of other ways that people are exploited and somebody makes money from it. Billions and billions and billions of dollars of money every year. And that money can be spent on terrorism, just as drugs, trafficking, firearms, extortion, any other way that a criminal can make money can be spent on terrorism. So how do we approach it? How do we make a difference? How do we start thinking of this? And I'm really pleased actually we are thinking about human trafficking in the context of terrorism, because whilst, as I say, when I was first given the topic I thought, that's a slightly odd one. Actually it's forced me to think about the intersection of all these crimes and actually how they harm us all. Now in the UK we approach tackling modern slavery and human trafficking with a 4 Ps approach. It's pretty common, I think probably everyone has it. Our Ps are pursue, prevent, protect and prepare. Pursue is basically catch the bad guys. Protect is stop you becoming a victim of the bad guys. Prevent is stop you becoming a perpetrator, stop you becoming a bad guy in the first place. And prepare is if you have been a victim, what can we do to help you? And I'm sure in every country there is a similar approach to it. But we have to remember with human trafficking, unlike drugs or firearms, there are human beings involved. And that means that it has to be a victim-centred approach. We've got to look at the victims and make sure the victims have the support they need to come forward, that there are services available for them, that they are prepared to come forward, that they recognise they're a victim, and that they then give us the evidence we need to catch the bad guys and stop the bad guys. And we also, of course, look at the financial aspects. In the UK, we have a supply chain measure, transparency and supply chain measure, which means that large companies have to report publicly on the action they are taking to eradicate slavery from their supply chains. And that does mean that businesses take this seriously and are looking to find slavery in the supply chains and eradicate it. But there's also, I think, something more we can do here. And it's something actually I'm afraid I missed yesterday because I was in Vienna at the beginning of the week. I chair our Home Affairs Select Committee in the House of Commons, and I was visiting the UN ODC in Vienna. And we started talking about strategies that they have, for example, the strategy to end violence against children, where actually they've approached this by looking at, this is too fragmented. So our approach to this crime is in silos. We look at it as the crime of trafficking. We don't look at it as the crime of trafficking that can lead to terrorism. So our police forces, our law enforcement that are tackling terrorism are looking at terrorists over there, and our law enforcement that's looking for victims of modern slavery are over there, and they're not talking to each other. In the UK, we actually have our law enforcement is run on organised immigration crime and modern slavery in the same directorate. That cannot be right. These are two entirely different and separate crimes. There is an intersection. Your immigration status makes you vulnerable to becoming a victim of slavery, but it's not the same crime. So surely we should be trying to have a holistic approach to this. We should find a way of stopping the silos, and when law enforcement and other agencies are looking at the potential that a crime is being committed, they're looking across the board at all the potential crimes that could be being committed and finding those links to root out the terrorists. And then I think there is another thing that we can start to think about, and that is, let's chase the money. And that means public-private partnership. That means working with financial institutions. It means making sure that money is not going to the hands of criminals in the first place, and then when they are making money from human beings or drugs or firearms or whatever else they're making money from, that we track that money and we find it. We need to break the business model. And I'll give you the example we were talking about earlier this week of Pornhub. Now, everyone knows about Pornhub. You may or may not watch it. I pass no judgment. But when Pornhub was found to have images that had children, under 18s, illegal images on it, and refused to take them down, what happened? MasterCard and Visa said, we won't let you use our services anymore. And if you're a Pornhub and you're making a lot of money from people streaming the content that you have, and they're paying you, they really do need their credit card to pay for it. And 13,000 images of children were removed by Pornhub overnight because the money spoke. And I would suggest that that's what we should be doing, and that these kind of events where we are bringing together security experts but also financial experts, we should be talking to each other about that public-private partnership. We should be thinking about, can we introduce laws that say you don't have just look whether terrorism might be being paid for by this loan that's going to be given by the financial institution, but maybe there'll be human trafficking, because that human trafficking might well then lead to more terrorism. So it might be a convoluted route to terrorism, but the financial institution needs to look at that. And I think that those public-private partnerships, getting the financial sector on board and getting them to recognise where these crimes are, like we do with supply chains, but let's do it actually up front with the money going into institutions and going into businesses and others. Let's try and find it and root it out and stop it in the first place. Because I think if we can have that joined up public-private partnership approach, looking in the round at these crimes, then actually we have a much better chance at solving them. Thank you very much.
Dame Karen, thank you. Wonderful remarks.